Okay, where were you?
Thank you so
I
much.
forgot to add the last
Okay,
but I had it written.
So where were you when you first learned of the crisis, of the AIDS crisis?
I was really in university. I was in medical school at the University of the West Indies. And our professor, in particular in pathophysiology, had indicated that there was an immunodeficiency virus that had been recently identified and that it was creating havoc among people around the world, especially at that time. It was very prevalent in New York, and it was said that it was among, in particular, the gay community, and it was to a large extent identified it to be associated with Haitians. That's how I first got into it.
And what's your personal experience with someone with HIV or AIDS?
I have always been able to embrace people who are suffering from HIV/AIDS. I guess because of the strong political leadership that I pursued very early in my own political career. I mean, as a medical doctor working in Trinidad, doing my internship after medical school in Jamaica, I came face to face with patients who were actually living with HIV/AIDS and who were under my care as a medical doctor. So it was very easy for me when I got back to St. Kitts and Nevis and got involved into politics, and eventually back in 1995 became Prime Minister of my country, to quickly embrace the need to have a situational analysis done of the pandemic, how it was affecting my own country. And as a result of that, was able to work with the entire cabinet and specifically through the Ministry of Health to put in place a strategic response based on the regional framework that had been identified by the Caribbean community.
And that goes into the last question, what must be done next? What's the priority?
So what has to be done next is that we assess all that we have achieved over the last 30 years, and in particular, how far we have come from the first United Nations official declaration that it had to tackle this pandemic. And then 6 years ago, after we had the political statements from leaders, we need to see how much we have achieved there. We recognize that the context in which this assessment is being done poses a number of challenges, the economic financial crisis. And that is why today it has become so critical that we look at shared responsibility and emphasize that in shared responsibility we must have shared leadership. Leadership must embrace a common development agenda. It must also have a vision as to the way that the Caribbean region and the rest of the world, the developed world and the underdeveloped world, the first world, the third world, how they must proceed together in tackling this disease. And thirdly, the need to have accountability and transparency in all that we do from here onwards. We recognize that the donor community, there is an exodus of this donor community. We need to see assess what is going to be the impact of this, and how the local responsibility, therefore, has to be stepped up in order to fill that vacuum that can be created as a result of an integral part of the fight so far, and that is the donor community.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Appreciate it.